Hello, my friend. Hello. I am CharLee Simons, your host here on Do Not Talk, talking to the people I'm not supposed to talk to, talking about things I'm not supposed to talk about. Brought to you by our wonderful, wonderful friends at NewWaveOfLife.com. Right there. Click that, kick it too. Kick that UR code, and it'll take you right to NewWaveOfLife.com/CharLee Simons. You use my name, CharLeeSimons, and you'll get yourself a nice little 10% discount on products naturally derived for the mind, for the body, American made. I love this company. I think you will too. You're going to find some great stuff there, including their weight loss products. All natural stuff too. No chemicals. NewWaveOfLife.com/CharLee Simons. And right down below, you see that website right there, CharLeeSimons.com. It's going by, scrolling. You go there and you can actually buy merchandise that will help this show tremendously, like this mug right here. Let's talk about politics and religion. Baby. I should put baby on the bottom, huh? There you go. Get a mug, get a hat, get a shirt. It'll all help this show. You'll get something nice out of it, and you'll be financially supporting this show too. Thank you for that. CharLeeSimons.com. CharLeeSimons.com. David Serpa. I met him. Probably it was during the whole COVID crap. He was running for office, and I was 100% in. This guy's fantastic. I heard him speak several times. He showed up at our Take Our Border Back California statewide convoy that all centered in Paso Robles, which is Central California over by the coast. And he everywhere he goes, he brings his own flag. He's a BYOF, bring your own flag. He brings an American flag, and there's a story behind it. And he sets it up, boom, right there, and he takes the stage and he owns it. He owns it. You'll love what he has to say if you haven't seen him on the show before. Then this year, or last year rather, was when it started ramping up about the governor's race, which is happening this year. He threw his hat in the ring. Like, dude, that's fantastic. And then when it got closer and closer to March and heading into getting closer to the June primary, he ascertained that this field is too crowded. And the California GOP is focusing all their attention on Chad Bianco and Steve Hilton. And that's it. They're doing everything they can to shut down, shut up, and discourage grassroots candidates. Well, I've put everybody I could who's running for governor. You're running for governor and you're on the right. I'm putting you on. And I have, because I want to introduce you to everybody who's out there. We had a strong bench, great people running for governor. And David Kohlenberg has now announced he's going to run instead for lieutenant governor. And David Serpa announced he's going for treasurer, which is a brilliant idea. And he's great at money, entrepreneur, businessman, combat Marine veteran, and one of my favorites. He just did a video recently, posted it. I saw it first on his Instagram page. It has taken off. Suddenly, because I'm on several text threads, conservative groups, and boom, boom, boom. Did you see this from David Serpa? David Serpa, look at this, CharLee, David Serpa. Look what he just did. Look what he just put out. And I watched it. It's about 14 minutes long. And I said, well, David, welcome to my world. I'm a delegate with the California GOP. I will be at the convention next month. And I have seen things in my own state party that just disgusts me. And I've not been quiet about it. Because of that, a lot of the higher ups and those that are running the shows will not go on my show. And not only that, but they're telling other candidates, don't go on CharLee's show, because he'll actually ask you questions that mean something. So I admire people like David Serpa, who's not afraid of that. We're going to run down this video that he just released. And I got him in studio too. We're talking to him right now on Do Not Talk. Are you ready? Hit it. Well, how's it feel to be hated by the California Republican Party?
You know, I'm just so grateful that they're finally doing it out loud. You know, it's one of those things where, you know, veteran to veteran, this is the reason why I decided to do this show. I love you, CharLee. Genuinely, you're a patriot. And, you know, there's a lot of people reaching out to me right now because I'm the latest hot topic, because I decided to actually stand up and not, you know, take it, you know, the way that everybody else has been taking it. And so, yeah, my phone's been ringing off the hook. There's a lot of people telling me that they're supporting me. You know, I say, hey, jump in the chat and tell people that you support me. And they say, I don't know if I support, I can't say it. I'll be ostracized. And I just think that that's the biggest problem is people aren't willing to talk.
That is so frustrating, isn't it?
So for me, them hating me out in the open,
Charlie. You and me, I agree with you, CharLee. I get that all the time.
Yeah, and that's fine, you know. But for me, the hatred being out in the open, the anger being out in the open, I'm actually really grateful for it because when I was in combat in Afghanistan, it was the moments before a firefight, it was the lulls during a firefight, the moments after where you're not sure if it's totally done. When it actually is violent, like everything sort of calms down a little bit. And then you're like, okay, at least it's happening. Everything that we trained for is now going on. And so that's kind of the way that I feel is now that everyone's attacking me out in the open, you know, the Carl DeMaios, the political party, you know, there's a lot of other people that I could name coming after me out in the open. I'm actually relieved. It's like, thank God they're just doing it because I know that it's been happening with whisper campaigns for the last 4 years.
Yeah. I do too. Do you want to watch it together? Shall we share with this what's causing all the controversy?
Yeah, and then if there's anything you want to talk about, maybe as we're going through it, we could kind of jump in. I've got an endorsement call at 7 o'clock, but like let's jump in, brother. However you want to do it.
Do it right now. Here it is.
Don't know, the California Republican Party has released a 3-page statement speaking out against nationalist, white nationalist, Christian nationalist, Catholics, Christians, anyone who identifies as America first or America only. And what they're doing is they're trying to loosely associate everyone with Nick Fuentes so that they can get rid of and purge anyone who has infiltrated the Republican Party.
Anybody who doesn't know, Nick Fuentes is a podcaster. He's deemed very controversial. He's kind of like the new young Alex Jones, really calls it out, tells it like it is. He was just recently interviewed by Tucker Carlson. Well, not recently, it's about 3 or 4 weeks ago now. And everybody jumped on Carlson because he dared to show any kind of support. But then Carlson has come out as being basically on the side of Nick Fuentes because of the things he has said recently, especially about Israel. So that's who Nick Fuentes is.
People are just kind of tired of this whole, you know, I don't like how he said that. It's like, yeah, didn't we get over that in 2016? You know, we don't care how you say it. We want to know that you're willing to say it. And even if you're wrong sometimes, even if you got to walk it back, even if you overreach, we're looking for people that are willing to call a thing, that are willing to be outspoken about it, even if they end up being wrong.
I'm thinking about Rush Limbaugh, who everybody loved, but there were times that Limbaugh said things that are no different from what Nick Fuentes has said and what you are going to say in this video. But it was a different reaction then than it is now, which shows me the only thing that has really changed, at least in California, is the Republican Party itself. Because at one point, we were all behind everything that all of y'all are saying.
That's right. And, you know, I've become more conservative over the years. And, you know, as my family and I have gone to church every Sunday for the last, 2.5 years, as we've gotten more involved with my family, like I said, it's made me more radical. And so, for me, it's kind of gotten to this point to where it's like, if I don't speak up, people won't have the ability to speak up. Even if I don't agree with everything that's being said, I'm going to jump in on behalf of free speech because free speech isn't meant to protect comfortable speech. And so, and my job in the Marine Corps I was a machine gunner. And the saying is movement without suppression is suicide. So for me, I'm going to talk at the cyclic. I'm going to come at the enemy. I'm going to say things that might even make people uncomfortable, or I'm going to say it brash, or I'm going to say it rude, intentionally, or more confrontationally than people might be used to, just so that other people have an opportunity to eventually someday speak. Because that's the problem, is we're losing the ability to speak at all.
Well, let's continue with this.
Christian men and inviting them to participate in the California State Republican Party Conference, which is in San Diego from April 10th to the 12th. And I didn't really think about it as infiltrating. I didn't think about it as a Trojan horse. I thought that that's what the party wanted. I'm running for California State Treasurer. I got the approval of 238 delegates, which allows me to speak at the conference. And instead of thanking me and being excited, they're trying to ban myself and people like me from participating in the California Republican Party.
This is shocking to me. I had no idea that they could do that, because as a delegate, I was able to vote for the people who are going to be representing themselves to all of us at the convention, and I voted for you. Yes, absolutely. I want David for treasurer, and you made it, and I'm glad you did. And I thought, well, this is great. He's going to be able to get his message out, and I had no idea that they were plotting against you to keep you from actually being able to speak.
Well, it's wild. What's happened is they're calling, to a committee in order to affect the bylaws, because I now have 238 delegates that have voted for me to be able to speak at convention. And for those of you that don't know, the reason why that's a big deal is you speak and then people vote. And if you don't get an opportunity to speak and you don't get an opportunity to represent yourself, then it goes into a vote, and you better have done a good job at convention. And so what happened was, we were, in my race, the first to file. We were the first to launch a website, first to put up a social media campaign. I was way far out ahead of it because I have been involved in these executive picks from the very beginning. And I'm talking about since December of 2024. And so, for them to try to cut me out of it was pretty bold. But what ended up happening was,
God bless your little heart.
Thank you. Was Jennifer Hawks ended up being promoted by Carl DeMaio to, because he wanted her to run, because he found out that I was going to run, and all of a sudden he was in a panic to try to block me from being able to run for treasurer. So he sends out this, I'm out with Steve Hilton. We do the human trafficking, second round there in Figueroa. And then 3 days later, my team and I are calling delegates, and Carl DeMaio goes off on one of my volunteers, yells at her, cusses at her, says that, he's sorry that David Serpa put her in that position. And then he sends out an email blast to all of the delegates supporting Jennifer Hawks, who doesn't have a website, at the point, didn't have a committee, hasn't filed, doesn't have a social media presence, and he kind of pushed her into this. And so I feel bad for Jennifer, because she seems like a perfectly lovely person, but Carl has been behind the golden ticket the whole time. It's been Carl that has taken over it. It was my idea. I started it. I have all the proof in the world about.
I'll tell you the proof you have is on my show. You announced this plan, and I went, that's brilliant. We need to absolutely canvass that entire ballot with Republicans running for all the different kind of offices. I thought it was a great idea.
Yeah, that's right. And I'm working on a whole expose. I'm going to do the whole video. I'm working on the timeline. I'm going to talk about it all. But I went on your show. I went on Latino Free Minds. The Latino Free Minds guys were awesome. They, have actually been calling out Hilton in the comments and whatnot and saying, hey, listen, that's David Serpa's idea. And so the thing is it's not, I don't care who gets the credit, but the thing is, if you're going to take the ball and you're going to go play the game, and you don't want to pass me a jersey, then I might have a little bit of a problem with it. And Steve asked me to run, but then all of a sudden, because Carl DeMaio asked Jennifer Hawks to run, Steve was uncomfortable standing up to Jennifer Hawks and telling her not to run because she was an OG donor. She donated $21,540 to Steve Hilton's campaign over the course of the last couple of years, but also because he's a friend of mine. And so he's like, I'll probably just stay out of it. I'm just going to leave the golden ticket at 4. But I'm going to release this whole video about the golden ticket probably tonight, if not tomorrow.
Okay. What's Carl's problem with you?
I think it's
and by
because
the way, Carl DeMaio is one of those who refuses to go on my show.
It's because, just honestly, I'm a Christian male. It's the same reason why I had a problem with Jack Guerrero, Mike Cargile, Eric Early, Ian Weeks, a lot of these people that are Christians, and especially white Christian men. He calls them male, pale, and stale when he's talking on his show. Oh, we don't need another guy who's male, pale, and stale. And it's like, Carl, it doesn't all have to be immigrants and homosexuals and women and boomers either. Like, it's okay to have some people that represent conservative values, that are pro-life, that are pro, tradition, that want to stand on behalf of American families in America, that don't want to get involved abroad. And so if you don't have a family, it's kind of hard to have these values that really value the next generation. It kind of removes you from that kind of thinking. And it's not that I don't believe that Carl or people like Carl should be in the party. I just think that they're so represented that there is not a lot of people who are family men, that are Christians, that are conservatives, like I said, that are pro-life, that are involved in the Republican Party.
And
anytime that they do,
they're being kept out of running
intentionally.
Let's
they want a
continue.
weak Republican Party.
Yep. Let's continue with this.
I'm already in. I'm already participating in the process. Trust me, this is the last video I wanted to make. I have tried to work with the California Republican Party. I have volunteered to give them infrastructure called the Republican Regiment for the last 15 months. I said I would do it for free. But what happened? What happened was they don't want us at the table. They don't want nationalist candidates that prioritize our state, our county, our people. And so those are the candidates that are being silenced: Christian conservatives, pro-life conservatives, America first, America only, Catholics specifically, and anyone who says that Christ is king. So what happened? Why are we doing this? I've been accused of being a Trojan horse for what? For Christian values, for conservatism. The people that Carl DeMaio calls mel, pel, and stel.
What does that stand for, by the way?
Male, you're a man. You identify as a man. Pale, meaning you're white, and stale, meaning, maybe you're old, or, you're boring, you're a Christian.
Okay, so I misunderstood what you were saying. I thought you were saying male, pale. You're saying male.
It's my speech impediment, Charlie. I apologize. Male, pale, and stale.
Pale and stale. Okay,
That's right.
I got you. He's not a male. He's not pale.
That's right. I mean, he's over 50 years old. It's not like he's a spring chicken. He's been at this for a while. He tried to reform San Diego. It didn't really work out. Started trying to reform California. He's pushed himself into some very popular places like this, voter ID initiative, which was a smart thing to do. But I wonder sometimes if it's more about fundraising than it is about being effective and efficient, if it's more about that bag of gold than it is about the people around the table.
All I know is I'm glad that's going to be on the ballot this November. I am very grateful.
Absolutely.
For that.
I'm grateful, man. I would love to be able to just, hey, put my differences aside and work with Carl. I've tried to do it for 4 years. We're going to both be speaking at Unite IE this weekend. I would love to just be able to move forward. Hey, let's, can we act like adults? Can we go grab coffee together? And can I, will you give me an opportunity to sit down? I'll pay for dinner. I don't have $2.5 million in my campaign account or anything like that, but I'll pay for dinner. And so, I don't want to work against someone who I agree with 95% of the time. But we've just gotten to a point to where if no one's going to stand up to this guy, then so if someone needs to do it, then we're not going to have anyone in the Republican Party that's male, pale, and stale. And I think that for a group of people that don't want to play identity politics, at some point or another, we have to understand our identity matters. Our culture matters. Who we are, where we come from. We live in a state where 25% of the people here are foreign born, and that's not a problem to anybody. 14% of our entitlement programs are going to people that don't belong here in the first place. So our system's broken. And, the people that are getting left behind are the people on whose backs it was built.
Why are we saying we're not concerned about identity? We don't play identity politics. And yet we're being slandered by the people that are taking advantage of just that. We're not representing young Christian people anymore. What does it mean to be Christian? What does it mean to say Jesus Christ is king? Didn't those people used to have a value or have a place specifically in the Republican Party, specifically in the California Republican Assembly? What does it mean to be conservative, to have Pat Buchanan era conservative values, to want to restore the Republican Party to a place where it was at its greatest, when California was thriving, when America was thriving, when we had more people that were saying that they were America first and America only. This is who our party has neglected. This is who our party has unrepresented in our government of ancient relics, of boomers, of neocon Bush era conservatives.
There it is.
You have to understand that this dynamic, these people that you're trying to stand against, these are the people that their grandparents, their forefathers built this country. This is their inheritance, their birthright to participate in what it means fundamentally to be an American. You know, I'm a combat veteran. You know, I served this nation overseas, and we'll talk about that more later, but I'm running to take on the control of the bank of the fourth largest economy in the world, in the richest state, in the richest country on earth. And now they're wanting to block me. Does it make sense yet? It's always been about the money. You are overtaxed, overburdened, overregulated, and ration back the freedom that is your birthright.
This is the what I've noticed, and I'm quite convinced that I'm right on this. The California Republican Party seems to love being in second place because it's easier. It's easy to fundraise, help us fight against Nancy Pelosi, give us more money this time for sure. And then when we don't win, there's no reflection on why we didn't, because we're backing weak-ass candidates. Instead, it's like, we'll get them next time. Give us more money. They love being at second place. And the other thing is the log cabin Republicans. There's a whole bunch of people at the top who are hell-bent on letting this basically this homosexual mafia political action committee, which is how I look at them, come in because they've got cash to burn, and they're throwing that money around, and they're wielding a lot of power and influence, so much so that the California GOP, what was it, like 2 years ago now, they tried to change the charter where they took out the we stand with traditional marriage, and we stand for pro-life. They tried to take those things out.
And what's interesting about it is that it went from 2 years ago, they wanted to change the charter to remove being pro-traditional marriage and being pro-life from the party platform. And then here it is just 2 years later, and now they're wanting to ban people who are saying Christ is king, that are Catholic or identify as Catholic. They're saying that's problematic. You see the Daily Wire having this whole article that they released where they're calling out, Catholics, and all of these issues, saying that, for other, Christians, they have to, in order to be in good standing with their church, they have to define themselves as Zionist. And it's like, no, that's not the truth. Stop redefining our religion to suit your doctrine, to suit your political actions and your political motives. Listen, we made room over here. We made room for people. But at the end of the day, you can't come into a party that's made room for you, that's been tolerant, that's been accepting, and then cut the people out of it that have been tolerant and accepting because of your intolerance. And so really the pendulum is swung, and it's the same thing that's happened on the Democratic side of things, which was very interesting with this USC debate being canceled. What you had was you had, I think, 4, Democratic candidates that were white, 2 Republican candidates that were white. You had Mahan and Porter, write, a letter calling out the USC for not including the candidates that were, people of color. And then USC says, forget it, I'm done. And who's going to blame them? They don't want to have a bunch of people protesting. They want to have a debate. And so they shut it down. And then what happens is Betty Yee posts on her page that the 4 candidates of color that were being excluded from the debate now have their own debate, and the white candidates aren't going to that.
Are not welcome.
What happened?
How about
so is Betty Yee going to write a letter, saying that she's not going to participate in the debate unless Matt Mahan and Katie Porter and Sheriff Bianco and Steve Hilton are invited? So it's one of those good for the goose is good for the gander. Everyone's sort of an opportunist, and it just becomes really exhausting watching everybody lean into identity, except for the people that are from here that, our forefathers, established this country. They signed the Constitution, they signed the Declaration of Independence, they built this nation, their tax dollars built it, they imagined a great nation, and now we're seeing our nation being stripped away from the studs. and not, passed on to the next generation that should be inheriting it.
You made some great points in this video. Let's continue with it.
California, you're rich. Americans, you are rich, but you have been treated like peasants in the land that your forefathers imagined, fought, and died for. In the land that your grandparents created, actualized. We had it here. We had freedom. We had a world where you could be anything that you wanted, regardless of where you started from. And now freedom is rationed back to us by our government.
Yep.
We're rich in water, gas, oil, lithium, and lumber. All that wealth should be put in a trust, the people's trust, so that we know just how rich we are here. Californians pay $1.112 trillion in taxes every year. $806 billion is siphoned back to us in pork, in NGOs, in nonprofits.
Yep.
That's not the way that the tax
system
was originally imagined. This is the land of milk and honey. This is the land of plenty. This is the place where everyone wanted to be, California. And you gave us loans, and you took away Main Street, and you gave us Wall Street. Well, why did they do this specifically in California? Because California is a breadbasket. It had to be destroyed by the globalists. It was always essential that California was destroyed. Ukraine is the breadbasket of Europe. Punjab is the breadbasket of India. Iran is the breadbasket of the Middle East. California is the breadbasket of America. It was imperative that they attacked our energy infrastructure and our water infrastructure,
farming,
because the
ranching.
fight is here, because California was founded on feeding America. We were an agrarian justice community, an agrarian community where we fed not just America, but we fed the world. And most importantly, we were able to feed ourselves.
As they're trying to create this little Star Trek utopia, where it's a whole bunch of haves and a few have-nots left over just so they can have the have-nots serve the haves. It seems to be a war against the middle class in California. They're happy that many of us are leaving. They don't care. They're not talking at all about the schools losing a whole bunch of money or anything else. It's not changing any of their directives. It's not changing their iron fist control over the curriculums of schools and the unions controlling everything. They don't care that the state is collapsing. I do believe, here comes conspiracy theory Charlie, that this is all part of the one world government, new world order thing. You can't take down the United States of America until you take down California. Erode, destroy, but my own Republican Party seems to be on board with it, and I have a problem with that.
Yeah. So what they did was they emasculated an entire generation. We had a generation of hard motherfuckers, people that were tough, people that were, that grew up fighting, that, dreamed about being patriots and dreamed about going off the war. We had our 20-year war, but the thing is things were going really good for us before 9/11. You had this really great, culture, this sort of this pride in being American. You had this, grunge music, and then it became rock, and then it became, and it was Fred Durst and, Korn and, Limp Bizkit and Creed and, A Perfect Circle. And there's just all these bands that were hard. And there's sort of this thing that happened around 99 Woodstock where you started seeing a lot of our hard music that was making tough men. You saw it being pulled from shelves. And when you look at the way that a lot of the funding has come from a lot of this stuff, it is very obvious the globalists were kind of at work. And so when I talk about things like the death of the middle class, when I talk about COVID-19 creating a new billionaire every day while Main Street was shut down and the lower class and the middle class shut down, and I say the haves and the have-nots, and it's not even the haves and the have-nots, it's the have-nots and the have-yachts. There are people that circulate these clips around about me and they say, oh, David Serpa is anti-billionaire and David Serpa. And I just say, shut up. If you don't want to be in this party, which is the party of the working class, the party of Main Street, the party of people that create communities that their children can then grow up and buy houses in, if you don't want to be a part of a community that grows its own food, if you don't want to be a part of a community where we don't leave people out to die because they're sick or because they're struggling mentally, where we have a compassionate conservative and we have trickle down economics, then there's a party for you. It's the Democratic Party. So get lost, get bent. The party of the elites, the party of the oligarchs, the party of the billionaire class is
That's
the
the Democrat.
Democratic Party overwhelmingly. And they vote and they donate for Democrats overwhelmingly. And what happened was President Trump at the 11th hour in 2024, it was obvious that he was going to be winning. Next thing you know, it wasn't just Elon Musk. Elon Musk was ahead of it, and he donated a tremendous amount of money. But then all of a sudden, it's Mark Zuckerberg, and it's all these, soy boys and, betas and, people who've been scheming, and we're taking away our rights during COVID.
Oh, yes. And they still are. They're back to it.
You're not welcome here in the Republican Party. It doesn't belong to you. It belongs to the people. And so that's what we need to have in heart. We need to have the patriots, the veterans, the teachers, the construction workers, the people down there, working and building roads, that have shops on Main Street that they're trying to keep open. These are the people that we need to represent, not Zuckerberg and Oprah Winfrey. There's a party for them. So yeah, it is. It's about the food. It's about the water. It's about energy, which is why I tell people it's all about water and energy. And if we can just become and focus on becoming water and energy abundant, which is something that we already are, we just have to harness it, then the people will do everything else. They'll grow the food.
And we keep voting for that. Remember how many years ago was it that we overwhelmingly said, yes, start taking this money and setting it aside in ways to save water. You know what I found out about why we're flushing so much water out into the Delta? It's not to protect the Delta smelt, which is not even a native fish to Northern California. That's a load of crap too. It's all to flush out the San Francisco Bay Area that is dumping raw sewage into the bay. That's what I just found out recently, that is going on, and the media is completely ignoring it. It's to flush out the San Francisco Bay from our deltas and waterways, so that water is being pushed right out into the ocean and taking that sewage with it. Did you know that was going on?
I didn't. I'm not surprised, though.
Yeah, well, that's happening. Let's continue.
People who represent the people to be involved in government. I've been accused of wanting to flood the convention with groypers, with Christians, with real conservatives. This sort of stuff, when we take on somebody like Nick Fuentes and we say, oh, well, we're going to discredit an entire movement just because of what one person in the movement was saying. The truth is America First, yes, it was established in a lot of ways by Nick Fuentes, but he wasn't the first person saying it. And he's certainly not the only person saying it. But we've gotten to a point to where they want to say that he is homophobic and that he's intolerant and misogynistic. But we just want to talk about the ideas. We want to debate the issues on substance. But what we've had is, we have a Republican Party that wants to defend moral ambiguity, tolerance, mutilation, sports where we have men competing against women and men in women's locker rooms. And then not only that, we have human trafficking happening in broad daylight in Los Angeles, and we have OnlyFans running rampant.
And Sacramento.
Immigration intolerance has gotten us to a crazy place where 25% of the state of California is foreign born. 25% of the state of California, according to Governor Newsom himself, wasn't born here. 14% of our state's resources and welfare programs are spent on people that aren't supposed to be here to begin with. So this whole issue of trying to silence groypers, silence nationalists, silence Christians, silence anyone who is America First, America Only, you forget we have the First Amendment, especially if we're saying America First. Especially if we're saying Christ is King, especially if we're saying America only, but even if we're saying that Nick Fuentes is a great American, even if we're saying that Nick Fuentes did more for America from his parents' basement than most of you have done in a lifetime. So shut up. Don't tell me when I can speak. I was willing to die for this country for what I thought was right. So you can't sell me bullshit because I've bought it before. And in fact, this is the difference between you and me. I don't want you to shut up. I want you to speak up. And in fact, the three people that are about this, I'll speak for one of them that I know well. Dennis Fiatosa and myself will debate any of you at the convention on this topic, because that's the way that our forefathers intended our republic to work.
They're never going to allow that, never, because they don't want people like me and others who are going to be at that convention going, he's right. And maybe I need to embolden myself and start speaking up about this as well. They don't want that. They're never going to welcome that. Not
Well,
at all.
that's right. Well, it's because my phone has been ringing off the hook, and I've been getting emails and text messages with people saying, "I'm 100% with you. Will you come and speak to this group? And we want you to take the whole time, and we want you to be our main speaker." And I'm so glad someone's saying it, because I've been studying this, and I've been studying the book of Revelations, and my pastor has been outspoken about what you're talking about, and the way that our religious book has been used against us to make us feel like we're not the chosen people. And so the thing is, there's a lot of people that are catching on to this heresy that has been being pushed off as Christianity, but it's really a way to manipulate the American people into things like forever wars, or to standing with a government that has been acting out of control for quite some time.
Now, that is one of the big problems I know that a lot of people in the California Republican Party have with Nick Fuentes, is his stance against Israel. I'm having the same problem with Tucker Carlson. I'm having the same problem with Candace Owens. I'm watching their stuff and I'm like, why are they saying these things? I'm never going to take a stance against Israel and against Jewish people, ever.
Yeah, well,
I don't care how not on board they are with my Lord. I can't help that, but all I know is my Lord Christ Jesus was Jewish, and that is the Abraham, the seed between Abraham and the Lord, and the promises that the Creator of the universe made to Abraham for his people and for them to be blessed. I'm not part of the tribe. I'm very, very grateful to be, as Paul put in the New Testament, grafted in. I'm grateful for that, but I'm not going to take advantage of it, or I think, well, I'm the chosen people now.
Well, brother, you have come into the inheritance that is becoming a Christian, which is that there is neither Greek nor Jew. We have come into this, which is what Jesus died for. And so
we're all one in Christ Jesus.
He says, he doesn't say we will bless those who bless Israel. It says we will bless those who bless the descendants of Abraham. And the people who are the descendants of Abraham are the people who have followed Jesus. And so, in my opinion, I mean, you could stretch that, and you could say the Abraham Accords. The reason why they covered these countries is the people that all considered Abraham their first prophet. But at the end of the day, for me, I don't want to fund any other countries, period. Not at all. And so there are people that sponsored the governor's debate that I spoke at, and I spoke out against them at the debate, because they want funding going from California to Mexico so that people have a reason to want to stay in Mexico. I don't want any foreign funding at all, not in another country. I practically don't even, I have trouble justifying money leaving the state of California in general.
Right.
You know what I mean? People say,
I
don't want to send it to countries that don't.
Treasurer, I will thank you personally for that, because that's my money.
That's right. Well, the thing is we're taxed to the tune of $1.112 trillion every year, annually. $806 billion of that leaves the state of California. It gets laundered back to us through pork, government programs, and nonprofits. But the thing is we have an annual budget that I think was $324 billion annually. And that's a fraction. That's about a third of what we actually spend in taxes. I want that money never to leave the state of California to begin with, not for a government that's $38 trillion in debt. I really think that what we need to do is we need to do what we used to do in the 50s and 60s and 70s, which is you return funding power, fiscal responsibility, disbursements, banking authority back to the county level, because our government was founded on two different things. The first being tax rebellion, getting the government out of your pocket. The second being the decentralization of government. And so balancing authority used to run with the counties first, and then the counties would send their money to Sacramento, then the money would be sent to DC. But now what we have happening is, specifically with state money, is everything's going to Sacramento first and then going back to the counties. And so I would rather put the hands back into the elected official, which is the county treasurer, that is responsible for the money that's being spent in that county.
And it's easier for law enforcement if there's, as we're seeing with Sheriff Chad Bianco right now, by the way, investigating election fraud, which may God bless him in that. That turned the tide for me. I'll tell you what, there's things that Chad Bianco has done that really bothered me. And if he would ever be on my show, I would have asked him about him. But now what he's doing with this he has taken responsibility as being the county sheriff. Seriously, that is a constitutional sheriff right there, doing what he is supposed to do. That's law enforcement in his county. And Rob Bonta, that piece of crap, horrific thing, rotting away in Sacramento, fighting against him for that, saying he can't do that and he doesn't have any place to do that. He absolutely does. Why don't you read the Constitution, you goofball? You'd actually know that he does.
And that's the thing that these Democrats really mess up is, you get these idiots like Tom, or Stephen Klubeck, who wanted to fund a lawsuit against Sheriff Bianco for wearing his uniform. He's a sheriff. He's only accountable to the people. He's not even accountable to the president of the United States. That's the way that the office works constitutionally. And so Sheriff Bianco went after it. He went after these ballots. Rob Bonta got involved. Shut up, Rob Bonta. You're elected by the people from the state of California, but you don't understand the Constitution if you're going after Sheriff Bianco here. And then what it did was it activated the base. The people like Kim Yater that are going around and, talking about taking your power back, take your state back. They've been talking about election integrity. It fired up Mike Gates, who's running for attorney general, who I'm a big fan of, because people want to know that our vote is going to count here in the state of California, or they're not going to show up at all.
I know you're up against the clock. I got a hard break with you. You got to go away in 8 minutes.
Yeah, I have an endorsement meeting in 8 minutes, but I'll bring it to the wire with you, okay?
Okay.
That's the way that it is intended. Not silence, not acquiescence, not having an idea that's so great that no one else should be allowed to speak. That's fundamentally un-American. I'm allowed to say that Christ is king. I'm allowed to say America first. I'm allowed to say that homosexuality is a sin. You are allowed to say that you want endless war in the Middle East, that you want war with Iran, that you want homosexuals and immigrants to lead the conservative Republican Party.
That's
the
what
party
they
of
want.
Lincoln, the party of Fremont, the party of Pat Buchanan. But you have to defend your viewpoint live in front of your peers. I don't want to silence you, even if I think you're an idiot or a traitor to this country or even a tyrant. We want to give you a microphone and an audience, because if you want to know who rules over you, you just have to ask yourself, who am I not allowed to criticize? We have a weak party, but it is only because we only allow weak candidates. Weak candidates that are willing to say whatever they're supposed to say in order to get the approval of those who are in the room. The boomers, the betas, the homosexuals and women have led the Republican Party long enough. Is there a place for you in the Republican Party? Yes. Are you disproportionate in leadership? Absolutely. And this is what liberals do. This is Marxism. This is McCarthyism 2.0, the desire to silence your opponent instead of making room for debate. So I encourage everyone to be at the convention, because I earned the right to speak. I had over 200 delegates say that I get to speak on Sunday, but now there's a push on Saturday to remove myself and people like me on April 11th through committee from being able to speak at the Republican Party, to be able to participate in the Republican Party, the party that I have told people for the last several years is the party of ideas. The Republican Party is a party of ideas. It's a theater where we flush out through conversation who has the best ideas,
instead of actually squelching them and shutting them down, which is what my party, your party, our party has been doing for I've lost count of how many years, and I'm done with it. I'm sick of it. We had an awesome opportunity to get a real leader with Chair Mike Morrell. Would have been a great choice. And everybody who was at that convention on that day of voting, as I was down in Los Angeles, when they announced Mike Morrell's name, we all started chanting Mike, Mike, Mike. And then the votes started coming in, and all of a sudden, things are flashing up on the screen. There's some kind of problem here. 100 or 1,000 or 100 votes are disappearing there. All this crap was going on, and every time somebody tried to get up and go, "What just happened? We just saw it on the screen. What was that?" Jessica Patterson is gaveling them out. Corinne Rankin is shouting them down. They're shutting off their microphones.
Yeah, I was there, and the thing is I did endorse Corinne. And now she's releasing a statement, and is part of a group working alongside two past chairs, being Steele and Nearing, that are working to release the statement that happened behind closed doors, that no one voted on, to get rid of people that are saying things like America first, America only, Christ is king. And so these are all things that, of course, I've posted. These are all things that are on my profile. I identify as a nationalist. And so it's just disappointing, because I was one of those people. She's young. She's got good energy. I really like her. And then I've been trying to work with her the last couple of years. And I've been hoping for the best. I keep hoping for the best. I worked my tail off trying to get the Republican regiment going. I tried to hand it to her. She said, I'll call you tomorrow about it. I said, that's what you said last time. Are you going to call me tomorrow? The filing deadline is in 1 month. And so it's been difficult, because it's been eye-opening. And I'll tell you what, man, if I could go back, I don't know if I would have voted the same way. But we all make our mistakes. We all grow a little bit from it.
Did you like Jessica Patterson as chair?
Yeah, I really like Mike Morrell. I've spent time with Mike.
Did you like Jessica Patterson? Did you think Jessica Patterson?
I wasn't involved in the party at the time. And so the thing is like, for me, I was coming into it. I was coming into it when
Rankin is Jessica Patterson 2.0, as far as I'm concerned.
And I get it. And, and like I say, this has been a baptism by fire for me. I didn't know about all of the different races. When I met Steve Hilton, when he was interviewing people at that CA GOP thing, I didn't know who he was when he was putting a microphone in people's head. So it's been, I was not a politico for a long time. I wasn't somebody that was like heavily involved in the party, and then I decided to run. I came at it from the outside, and then I decided to run.
Well, I think you're fantastic. That video has emboldened, I hope, many, because you're speaking the way I've been speaking all along, and especially standing up against the homosexual community and the placating and kowtowing to them, the bowing down to them, which is so all tied in with money.
Well, I don't think we need to beg to exist. And so the thing is like the redefinition of marriage is something that, has been a sticking point. In fact, California voters actually voted that down originally, and so there's this thing. And then Gavin Newsom, through executive authority, was sort of, how that started getting pushed through. And so the thing is I don't want rights to be taken away from anybody. I don't want, I don't hate.
Nor do I, but I don't want them to have a special voice in my party. The party that has taken a stance that we are for traditional marriage.
Well, and at the end of the day, and I'll end it on this.
They want to take it away, and they want to erode us from within, I believe.
It's all true. Well, the thing is it's e pluribus unum, right? From many one. It's a melting pot. And the thing is there are certain things that are very important that everybody should get behind. Michael Savage talked about these for years as I was growing up. Borders, language, culture. Our culture is important. We are a Christian community. There are certain things that we stand for. Our language is important. If kids can't come into school and communicate in English, it holds back the other kids that are in there. It holds back the teachers, because nobody wants to leave anybody behind. And our borders are important. Our identity is important. And so at some point or another, you have to understand that, all of the calling me a white nationalist or a Christian nationalist or a groyper, when 60% of the people that identify the way that I do are Hispanics, it misses the mark. Especially in the Catholic community, which is probably a majority Hispanic community. It's something that somewhere where I grew up. And so I'm very disappointed in the behavior of the party, and that instead of opening it up to debate and to dialogue and to ideas, they're trying to silence people, because there's never been an idea so great in American history that you should silence the opposition. But I have to go, brother. I have a heart out.
I know you do. Just real quick, with Carl DeMaio calling us male, pale, and stale is so ridiculous to me, because he's a homosexual, and allegedly, supposedly, they've always encountered all kinds of opposition from people like us.
It's us getting all the opposition.
He's going to shoot everybody in the foot like that because you happen to be male, you happen to be white, and you happen to be more traditional in your values.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Oh, what a hypocrite. Where do we find you? I think you'll be a great treasurer. I want you to be my treasurer. Where do we find you?
Serpa for CA, serpaforca.com. Find me on social media. I got to go. I'm a minute late to my next meeting.
All right, brother.
But brother, I love you. I love you. I love you. I appreciate you, brother. We'll talk more.
All right, partner. Talk to you later. I think he's fantastic. You want to watch the rest of that video? This was David Serpa's video. This is what first made me contact him about being on the show today.
So I earned that right to speak. I will defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. My platform is built on it, and we will not back down. The truth about all of this is something that they mentioned through their own statement, that this is all about delegates. Right now, Carl DeMaio, through the golden ticket, which was actually my idea, and I have the proof for this because I've shown that it was a slate of candidates that could win in the executive. I presented that idea to Steve Hilton. I presented it to Chad Bianco. I sent it to Corinne Rankin, along with several other people in the Republican Party. My desire was to get the right people for the job. But Carl took the golden ticket and he turned it into the golden years ticket. And he removed me from the conversation, even though it was my idea. He decided to try to run it over. But it's because he wants the delegates. It's not about trying to win for these people. It's not about trying to find the right person for the job, a patriot, a professor, a farmer, a businessman. They want to find people that they can control at convention. And then we wonder why we have a weak Republican Party. So for those of you who have been threatening me online, those of you who have been threatening to bring up things about me, that have been lying about me, Carl DeMaio said that I'm prone to violent outbursts. He went off for a minute plus on his show about who I am as a person. Whatever you say about me, I'm not worried about it. There's nothing that you can use against me that I will not use to serve the people. You cannot say anything bad about my past that I'm not willing to completely, openly, and willingly talk about in front of everyone, because it's all a part of my testimony. It's all a part of something that has made me a better person, a better Republican, a better and more engaged Californian, and you will not remove me from the process just by associating us with with Nick Fuentes. Because America First isn't just about one person. It isn't defined by one person. But what they'll do is they'll take one person and then they'll use that ideology to get rid of everyone. Yep. Because it's no longer about the Republican Party, the theater of ideas, the best person for the job. It has become more like Marxism, more about silence, more about complicity, more about being willing to bend over and take it from your Republican Party than stand up and live on your feet. And so that's not something that I'm willing to do. So please come to the Republican Party convention. You are welcome. As a Christian, as a Republican, as somebody who's America first, who's America only, there's nothing that the Republican Party should be able to tell you that it discourages you from being able to participate in the process just because they don't like what you're saying. So yes, we've infiltrated the Republican Party. Yes, we infiltrated it with young Christian men, but isn't that the idea? Isn't that what we want, a strong Republican Party? Anyway, I'll get off my soapbox. I'm going to keep exposing these things. I'm going to expose this golden ticket idea. I'm going to expose the California Republican Party and how long I've been pushing to try to fix it so that we could win in this election cycle. And I'm not going to back down from the accusations just because you think that you can control us through complicity. I didn't back down when I was under fire. I'm certainly not going to back down now that I'm engaged in this political hemisphere, because I pledged an oath to the allegiance to the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And I didn't find any foreign, but I'm finding a lot domestic.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Those young Christian men, too, are the same ones who were going to Charlie Kirk rallies and listening to what he had to say and being absolutely influenced in such a positive way by Charlie Kirk. And now my own California Republican Party doesn't want those people showing up at the convention. I'm with David Serpa. Come on, man, come on. Go to cagop.org, cagop.org. Get all the information about the convention. They're going to tell you have to pay to be able to go into things. I'm going to tell you, no, you don't. You just show up. You walk around. There'll be rooms and doors open. You'll be able to practice. They're going to hate me for saying that. They might change everything now. Lock all the doors. But just be there. And there's things going on that you don't have to pay for. There's a cigar party on, I think it's going to be on Friday night. And that's at the hotel there where the pool is. Normally is where they do it. And show up. You need to get involved. You need to see what's going on. We need more people showing up for the inner workings of what is deciding our lives and what our future is going to be here in the state of California. We need you. cagop.org. And go to my website, CharLeeSimons.com. If you want to help me out too, sure would love it. I'd appreciate the support. CharLeeSimons.com. You can contact me through there as well. You can even schedule yourself to be on the show. That's pretty cool, huh? So just click on that book a guest slot tab, click on the merch store, and have fun. CharLeeSimons.com. May God bless you and keep you. May God bless America. But most importantly, America bless God.